So we like to tell everyone that we are a welcoming congregation for all, and I thank Felix for demonstrating that that is the case today. It's definitely been the star today for us. Love it. I think George would be laughing hysterically right now. So I have to admit, I came to this topic while I was researching for my previous sermon on angry white men. Many of the quotes that of Carlin that circulate on social media and the YouTube clips that are always shared, they spoke to my frustration of where we are today as a society. And believe me, they still do. But as I immerse myself in the world of George Carlin, I read several books of his, watched several HBO specials, and then watched the recent autobiography, or correction, the recent biography on him. I was reminded that, like with so many others, social media simplified, boiled down George into this meme-ready character. Like all of us, George Carlin was a very complex person with many layers. The same man responsible for the 7 words you can never say on television, and the stand-up special, "You Are All Diseased," is also Rufus from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and the conductor on Shining Time Station. And if you doubt that there wasn't a big part of George in those friendlier roles, Alex Winter, who you may know better as Bill S. Preston Esquire, described Carlin on the set of Bill and Ted's as really gentle, a really loving guy, and a beautiful, spiritual, incredible human being. Jon talked about it in his reflection about the quote, "If you scratch a cynic, you will find a disappointed idealist." I too was struck by that quote. I feel this speaks to the dichotomy between the anger that George Carlin often presented in his later stand-up and the fun-loving guy of Rufus and the conductor. So though I will address the cynic because he definitely speaks to me, I really wanted to scratch through that cynic surface and explore the optimist underneath. Before we dig in, one admin note. I will be quoting Carlin a lot. I will, however, in consideration of the audience, substitute or omit some of his more colorful words. Carlin certainly presented the cynic in him very clearly in the latter half of his life. In a letter he wrote shortly before his passing, he summed up his frustrations pretty good. "The paradox of our time and history," he writes, "is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy less. We have bigger houses and smaller families, more conveniences but less time. We have more degrees but less sense, more knowledge but less judgment, more experts yet more problems, more medicine but less wellness. We drink too much, smoke too much, spend too recklessly, laugh too little, watch too much TV, and pray too seldom. We have multiplied our possessions, but reduced our values. We talk too much, love too seldom, and hate too often. We've learned how to make a living, but not a life. We've added years to life, not life to years. We've been all the way to the moon and back, but have trouble crossing the street to meet a neighbor. We've conquered outer space, but not inner space. We've done larger things, but not better things. We've cleaned up the air, but polluted the soul. We've conquered the atom, but not our prejudice. We write more, but learn less. We plan more, but accomplish less. We've learned to rush, but not to wait. We built more computers to hold more information, to produce more copies than ever, but we communicate less and less. These are the times of fast food and slow digestion, big men and small character, steep profits and shallow relationships. These are the days of two incomes, but more divorce, fancier houses, but broken homes. These are the days of quick trips, disposable diapers, throwaway morality, one-night stands, overweight bodies, and pills that do everything from cheer to quiet to kill. It is a time when there is much in the showroom window and nothing in the stockroom. A time when technologies can bring this letter to you, and a time when you can choose either to share the insight or just hit delete. So what was it that caused Carlin to be so cynical later in life? What was the tarnish that dulled that optimist's shine? George's childhood was normal enough, if not easy. He was raised as a Catholic in New York City, learning to have faith in God and to be a patriotic American. His mother left her husband shortly after George's birth and raised him and his older brother on her own. But there was something a little different about George. He quickly developed an instinct to question everything he was told, especially from established authorities such as teachers, religion, and government. This questioning of authority would get him in trouble, resulting in him being expelled from one Catholic high school at 15, and in hopping between two other high schools after that, before he joined the Air Force. Probably not the best choice for the always questioning anti-authoritarian. He and the Air Force would soon come to what George would describe as a mutual understanding that he and the Air Force were not a good fit. And he was separated under a general discharge, but not before being court-martialed 3 times, receiving numerous non-judicial punishments and reprimands. The instinct to question authority enabled him to look at the establishment systems in a critical manner, and he did not like what he saw. Whether it was religion, something is wrong here. War, disease, death, destruction, hunger, filth, poverty, torture, crime, corruption, and the ice capades. Something is definitely wrong. This is not good work. If this is the best God can do, I am not impressed. Or politics. Conservatives say if you don't give the rich more money, they will lose their incentive to invest. As for the poor, they tell us they've lost all incentive because we've given them too much money. And don't worry, liberals, he didn't forget about you. The habits of liberals, their automatic language, their knee-jerk responses to certain issues, deserves the epithets that the right wing stuck them with. I could predict what they were going to say about some event or conflict, and it wasn't even out of their mouths yet. Liberal orthodoxy was as repugnant to me as conservative orthodoxy. Or church and politics. I am completely in favor of the separation of church and state. These two institutions screw us up enough on their own, so both of them together is certain death. Yes, George was disappointed. And what I think he was most disappointed about was the lost opportunity. In his words, I think the human race has squandered its gift, and I think this country has squandered its promise. It broke his heart because he was able to see so much beauty in the world. And I believe he just couldn't stand the fact that it wasn't all beautiful. And he really did see that beauty. And when you scratch the cynic, George, rub the tarnish off and expose that glowing optimist underneath, you find his really profound messages, the true lessons we can learn from him. I like it when a flower or a little tuft of grass grows through a crack in the concrete. It's so heroic. Just a simple thought, but with profound meaning. George loved the underdog, that which exists despite our best efforts to prevent it. And he chooses a striking image of that. A bit of nature escaping through a man-made wasteland. Every person you look at, you can see the universe in their eyes, if you really look. Ha, right? George saw the unlimited potential of every person. And you know why he saw that? Because he was really looking. Those who dance are considered insane by those who cannot hear the music. These days we're so busy judging others, critiquing others, being angry at others, that we fail to hear the music all around us. Instead of judging others for being different from you or believing different from you, take the time to find out what you have in common. Find your shared beauty and dance. Don't just teach your child to read. Teach them to question what they read. Teach them to question everything. And that might sound a little bit like the cynic George, but it's a reflection of his belief in the future if we only empower the next generation. George always had faith in the youth. Like I said, that's why he thought Shining Time Station was his greatest gift. Everyone smiles in the same language. Simple belief that if you're great, if you greet others in a friendly, optimistic way, you can overcome prejudices and differences. And then, laughed often, long and loud. Laugh until you gasp for breath. An optimist, George, he managed to shine through to the end of his life. That letter he wrote at the end of his life, where he shared all the things wrong in the world, in that same letter, he couldn't help but ending with his message of hope. The words I shared to you during the meditation, and I'll share them with you again. Remember, spend some time with your loved ones because they are not going to be around forever. Remember, say a kind word to someone who looks up to you in awe, because that little person will soon grow up and leave your side. Remember to give a warm hug to the one next to you, because that is the only treasure you can give with your heart, and it doesn't cost a cent. Remember to say, I love you to your partner and loved ones, but most of all, mean it. A kiss and an embrace will mend hurt when it comes from deep inside you. Remember to hold hands and cherish the moment, for someday that person will not be there again. Give time to love, give time to speak, and give time to share the precious thoughts in your mind. And always remember, life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but the moments that take our breath away. Amen. Blessed be, and Ashe.